Hello, Vlogalogue. How you guys doing? I'm very happy to be home back in my apartment at Worcester and not, traveling around the world having to worry about other people and being super stressed out about a million other things. So last week we had the whole discussion about escaping from all those other things and how not to be super stressed out all the time. And Kevin brought up the interesting point that it's hard to do that because all of the things that we consider hobbies that we do in our free time are actually also super stressing us out. Like we have to watch books, read books, and watch television and watch movies so that we can be part of society and culture as a whole, which I think is a very valid point. And I certainly struggle with that. I keep a big master list of things to watch and to read that I have been told are good things to watch and read and that I would like to at some point watch and read. But I just don't usually use the time for it. I don't really know. I feel like I waste a lot of hours in a day. I bet everyone thinks they waste a lot of hours a day. But yeah, that's totally a super valid point. And I did enjoy the previous ideas. A video about it. I thought that was really quite well done. Luke talked about something that I also do quite a lot, which is go on walks. When you need like a micro break, when you can't like go on vacation, you can't go somewhere, when you have to just be like, okay, I'm done, I need to tune everything out for a little while, I'll just go on a walk. My biggest issue about going on walks is that walks are times when my brain is like, okay, let's work on things, let's get things done that I can't normally do when I'm doing another task, because I'm not very good at multitasking. In fact, most people aren't very good at multitasking. You can't just think about something what was that? You can't just think about something and have it get all figured out while you're working on something else. You have to dedicate specific time to it. And I find walks are a very perfect time to do that. And so sometimes I can't always escape from something, like little term, by going on a walk, because for at least most of the walk, I'll be thinking about that thing, like how can I solve this problem? If it's not a problem, I'll start worrying about and like finding all the possible permutations of ways that could go horribly, horribly wrong. Sometimes it works though. Sometimes I can get my brain down a specific channel in a specific thought process and like just completely forget about the problem. But it's usually still there when I get back. But yeah, walks can sometimes help. And I think the biggest thing I took from Joss, or the biggest thing that I thought was, yes, I agree with that. Baking. Baking is such like a time-intensive and like time-specific task. Like you go and you start baking something or cooking something, even. You have to like stage everything very appropriately, and if you're off by even like a couple minutes in some places, you can just totally destroy the whole process. And I think that demanding superseding process is super important when you're trying to escape from something, because that is actually a higher priority thing on your mental task list. And so it always supersedes everything else, and you can worry about baking, which is like a trivial nothing, instead of having to worry about the thing that you don't do. So when I have a kitchen available, cooking is 100% something I do when I'm just fed up with a problem or fed up with an issue, and I'm just like, okay, fine, I'm gonna go make dinner now. And then I'll have like half an hour to just totally de-stress and do something that's a higher priority. Because like, if you don't eat, you'll die. And that's not a good thing. Dying is not a good thing at all. All right, that's last week. Let's move on to this week. And buckle in, folks, because it's gonna get a little bit bumpy here. So basically, and I believe a couple other collaborators on this channel, am a fan of the podcast Hello Internet. If you haven't listened to Hello Internet, I would highly recommend it. It's a very good podcast. Basically, they recently had a discussion that I'm gonna port over into this channel that basically goes along the lines of, no one can seem to have neutral opinions anymore. You have to be a highly opinionated person about everything nowadays. And if you have a neutral opinion, it's immediately assumed to be the opposite camp. So, oh, you don't want to tell me what your opinion is. Well, you clearly then believe in the exact opposite thing that I do. And no reason that you would ever just be uninformed or potentially even oblivious to a particular topic or idea. You're just clearly for or against me. And I think that's like a very dangerous way of thinking. And I think it's kind of true. Because if you think about it, a lot of things that get discussed and get talked about in politics in general, you'll have to clarify when you say something. So if I talk about the Confederate flag, which is a very hot button issue in America right now, I would then have to clarify afterwards that, yeah, we shouldn't have the the Confederate flag flown as a symbol of the United States or certain states in the United States anymore, because it is clearly, very clearly, a representation of slaves. And slavery is a bad thing. And like having to clarify that slavery is a bad thing when talking about slavery is kind of like, really? Shouldn't it be assumed that I think slavery is a bad thing, being like not the worst human being in all of history? I think it's interesting that a lot of people who discuss things just neutrally on the internet will get called out. So say I'm explaining to you what A is, and if I don't say that A is a good thing, a lot of people will come along and be like, yo, why don't you think A is good? These are all the reasons why A is good. And then all the people who like are for B will be like, yo, you didn't say why A is bad. Here are all the reasons why A is bad. A is bad. This sort of extends outside of the internet as well. If you go and have a discussion with your coworker about issues, especially issues where it's a lot more split down the middle, but even it does expand to, I think, pretty much everything. For instance, the issue of marriage equality in the United States, which has just reached sort of the end of its struggle, which is an amazing thing in and of itself, but a totally different topic. But see, I had to go and clarify that amazing thing. It set me up as like, yes, I am totally for marriage equality. And like, I don't know if it's making videos on the internet that sort of trained me to do that, or discussions in reality. I think it's discussions just in society as a whole that have trained me, and I think trained a lot of us, we need to clarify our opinions and stances on issues when we bring them up, because otherwise, who knows what people will assume of us. And maybe that's it. Maybe it's just a defense mechanism, so that way we just say, hey, we're in this camp, so you're either with me or you're against me. And I don't think this sort of polarization is a good thing. I think we need in a society the ability to rationally discuss things from a neutral standpoint. And just saying, I'm with Camp A, just puts everyone in this very polarized opinion. And even if there's minor differences, and the vocal minority is the huge problem with this, you'll have very vocal people who will speak for the whole group and distort the majority's opinion on the opposition side, so to speak, about who they're working against as a whole, and that all the commonalities sort of like fade away, because vocal minorities don't have commonalities. They just have, I hate everything who isn't me, and they get rid of all the commonalities, and you wind up not having reasonable discussions, and you don't have reasonable compromise, because we don't seem to possess as a society, at least not anymore, the ability to discuss things from neutral standpoints, because we're always having to clarify our own positions and our own beliefs and stances on especially important hot button issues. And I know that was a mouthful, and I know that was a little complicated, and I don't think I did a particularly good job of explaining it. But I'm curious about what everyone else thinks on this issue. Do we have neutral discussions in our society? Is that something that we can even have on the internet? Or are we sort of always stuck clarifying ourselves as different camps? Are you in A or are you B, and those camps are always fighting irrationally and not well? Anyway, that's my perhaps horribly thought out idea for this week. We'll see how this goes. And until then, I'll see you next week. Bye!